hello, hello, mic check, hello, hello, mic check, hello, hello, mic check, hello, 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 mic check, hello, 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 mic check, hello, 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 mic check, hello, hello, mic check, hello, 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 mic check, hello, 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 mic check, hello, hello.
Good evening, all of you. Good evening to the online students as well. Yes, in the last class we were discussing these international organizations. Yes, so we will be discussing, we were to start with BRICS. Yes. So BRICS as such is a very, very important organization, a very important geopolitical organization, geo-economic organization, yes. And in fact, UPSC likes to ask questions from BRICS. Yes, in the past they have asked quite a few questions from BRICS. Yes, so BRICS in that perspective becomes quite important. Fine, so we trace the origin of BRICS to 2001 when an economist, yes, Jim O'Neill of Goldman Sachs came out with the acronym BRIC. Yes, you can mention it. He came out with this acronym called BRIC. Basically, it referred to Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And he expected that their combined GDPs would cross the combined GDPs of industrialized economies by 2050. It was later on in 2006 that the foreign ministers of these four countries met on the sidelines of UN General Assembly. Yes, it was later on in 2009 that the first summit was held, and this summit was held in Yekaterinburg in Russia. UPSC has asked a question on Yekaterinburg. Where was the first summit of BRICS held? Though UPSC tends not to ask such factual questions, but in the past, with respect to BRICS, they have asked such a question. Yes. Next, in the year 2010, South Africa was admitted into BRICS, and thereby BRIC became BRICS. So 2010, with admission of South Africa, and who led the admission of South Africa into BRIC? It was China. Yes, it was China who was interested to admit South Africa into BRIC. Now this is despite the fact that South Africa is a much smaller economy compared to these remaining four countries. And despite that, China admitted South Africa into BRIC because China was seeking admission into an organization known as IBSA. Yes, so 2010, South Africa joins, and the reason is China itself wanted to become a member of IBSA. IBSA is another regional organization, or another organization comprising India, Brazil, and South Africa. These are three democracies from the three continents of global South. Yes, so India from Asia, Brazil from Latin America, and South Africa from Africa. Yes, so China wanted to join IBSA and so that it would become CHIPSA, but India and Brazil were never interested in getting China within IBSA. Yes, because of course they said that China is not a democracy. Also, these three countries, India, Brazil, South Africa, are multicultural countries. Yes, but of course India did not want, if China would join, China would automatically emerge as the leader. and it was an organization of Global South and all such things. So 2010 finally China brings South Africa into BRIC, making IPSA more or less irrelevant. Yes, so you find that since 2010 there has been no summit level meeting held for IPSA. IPSA is said to be in a state of comatose or in a state of coma. Yes, you find that foreign minister level meetings are held for IPSA, so IPSA as such is not, it is going to be a relevant organization for you all. Yes, so 2010 South Africa joins. 2014 there is a very important summit that takes place in Brazil. It results in Fortaleza Declaration. And what was this declaration all about? This declaration was about establishment of new development bank and contingency reserve arrangement of $100 billion. Contingency reserve arrangement. Contingency reserve arrangement is to tide over short-term BOP crisis amongst the member countries. Yes, so as to help the member countries deal with short-term BOP crisis, $100 billion contingency reserve arrangement was created. Yes, it was to be established, and also another organization known as the New Development Bank was to be established. Ultimately in 2015 at least, the New Development Bank was established. 2016 there was the Goa summit, so it was held in New Delhi, and as part of Goa summit, yes, India had invited BRICS countries or BRICS leaders for had invited BIMSTEC leaders as part of BRICS outreach. Had invited BIMSTEC leaders as part of BRICS outreach. As part of BRICS outreach. Yes, 2017 there is Xiamen summit. Why am I mentioning all this? Because UPSC in the past has asked question on it. Fortaleza summit, they have asked a question, what Fortaleza declaration is in relation to what? And they had asked it 2-3 years hence, because this was a very, very pivotal declaration under BRICS. Yes, so 2-3 years hence they once asked what is Fortaleza declaration. New Development Bank, they have asked a question. And also Fortaleza declaration was about contingency reserve arrangement that you should be aware of. Yes, and then 2017 there is a Xiamen summit through which they create this mechanism of BRICS plus meetings. Basically, countries other than the BRICS countries, other developing countries are invited during BRICS summit, so as to increase networking, increase outreach of the BRICS countries. So this formal mechanism comes into being, and presently in 2019 also there was the summit at Johannesburg. It was the last in-person summit before COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, and now in 2023 once again there has been this Johannesburg summit. This summit is important because this is the first in-person summit since COVID-19. It was the first in-person summit since Russia-Ukraine war. Yes, and all the BRICS countries as such have not joined Western sanctions on Russia. This summit was also important because it led to the admission since 2010 for the first time, once again expansion of the membership. Yes, it led to the admission of 6 new countries. Yes, so Argentina was expected to join, then Ethiopia, Egypt, UAE, Saudi Arabia and Iran. These 6 countries were given in principal admission. They were expected to join on 1st January 2024. But by this time there was government change in Argentina, and Argentina decided not to join BRICS because the new government feels that BRICS is closer, it is more in alignment with countries like US and EU. Yes, with organization like EU, it is more in line, the world view is more aligned to US and EU, and therefore they have decided to withdraw their admission into BRICS. Presently 5 new countries have got admitted into BRICS. Yes, what is the original aim? What is the actual aim of BRICS? They wanted reform of global institutions of political and economic governance. Yes, they were conceived as an organization with the primary aim to reform the global institutions of political and economic governance. Political governance का institution कौन सा है? It is UN. Economic governance, it is IMF, World Bank and WTO. Yes. However, one of the dark spots as far as BRICS is concerned is the fact that though it stands for reform of institution of political governance, and 2 of the BRICS country, Brazil and India, they demand to become permanent members of UNSC, but then their candidature is not unanimously supported by Russia and China. Yes, Russia and China are already permanent members and they have not been very supportive of any such membership reforms. Yes, so this is one of the dark spots. They have not achieved, though this is the primary agenda, they have not been able to achieve much vis-a-vis this agenda. However, the institutions that they have created, yes, the institution of NDB, New Development Bank, and Contingency Reserve Arrangement are looked upon as rivals to IMF and World Bank. Yes, they are looked upon as rivals to IMF and World Bank. Fine, because in these organizations there is dominance of Western countries. So they want to create such institutions which have greater representation of the developing world, a greater say of the developing world. So you have New Development Bank and Contingency Reserve Arrangement. Yes. Apart from this, this was one of the primary aims. Apart from it, of course, the aim was with respect to inter-sectoral cooperation. Yeah, cross-sectoral cooperation, and across sectors they wanted to undertake cooperation between the BRICS countries. This was the 2 original aim of BRICS. However, they have not been very successful in achieving much vis-a-vis their primary aims. The two major achievement of BRICS is creation of NDB and CRA. Yes, fine. So this is with respect to BRICS. Acha, they have also mentioned yes, major initiatives at BRICS. So they have talked about new development bank contingency reserve arrangement to provide short-term liquidity support to the member countries. Also they have talked about BRICS R&D Center for Vaccines and BRICS Alliance for Green Tourism. Yes. Now new development bank also as such is important. They have also set up a regional office at the GIFT city. Yes, Gujarat International Finance Tech City. As such, it was established in 2015 to mobilize as resource for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in emerging markets and developing countries. Yes, the member countries, who are the members? Originally only the BRICS countries, these 5 countries were the members of NDP and all of them were equal stakeholders. Yes, had equal stakes. Later on you find Bangladesh, UAE and Egypt have joined in. Yes, they have also joined in. Otherwise, Uruguay is also a prospective member and will become an official member once it deposits its instrument of accession. Its headquarter is Shanghai, China, and India is the second largest recipient of NDP's financial support after China. Fine. In fact, when it comes to NDB, we at times distinguish it from Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. We distinguish it from AIIB. You can make that differentiation, NDB versus AIIB. NDB versus AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. NDB was established in 2015, AIIB in 2016. Then under NDB it was established by BRICS countries, AIIB in 2016. Yes, NDB in 2015, AIIB in 2016. Then NDB was established by BRICS countries, AIIB was led by, its establishment was led by China. Headquarter of NDB is Shanghai and AIIB headquarter is in Beijing. Yes, NDB founding members were 5 BRICS countries. AIIB founding members were 57 countries and now the membership has expanded more than 100 countries. More than 100 countries. Originally 57 founding members, now more than 100 countries. Now under BRICS you will write down the membership is open. The membership is open to other countries. But the BRICS countries should retain a minimum of 55% of total shares Yes, membership is open to other countries, but the BRICS countries should retain a minimum of 55% shares. Yes, with respect to AIIB, membership is open to other countries of World Bank, and ADB, Asian Development Bank. Yes, and as I told you, under NDB, all the BRICS countries have equal shareholding, each has contributed $10 billion. All the 5 BRICS countries have contributed $10 billion. As far as AIIB is concerned, all the BRICS countries have contributed $10 billion. Under AIIB, China owns majority of the shares. In bracket you can mention 26.6% share. And the second largest shareholding is of India. Second largest, उसी में AIIB में second largest shareholding is of India with 7.6% of shares. Yes. So in fact in AIIB you find that China as such has a sort of veto vis-a-vis decision making, because more than 25% shareholding is of China. Yes. So this is with respect to NDB and AIIB. Also with respect to contingency reserve arrangement, I told you it is a arrangement of $100 billion. अब इसमें इंडिविजुअल कंट्री का क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन है? चाइना हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड, यू कैन मेंशन, चाइना हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड $41 billion, 41 अंडर CRA, है ना, अंडर CRA कंटिजेंसी रिजर्व अरेंजमेंट में China's contribution is $41 billion. India, Brazil and Russia, India, Brazil and Russia each have contributed $18 billion. $18 billion, while South Africa has contributed $5 billion. Yes, fine. So this is with respect to BRICS. BRICS as such very, very important, and you should know that 5 new countries have joined it. अच्छा, इसमें एक और ये mentioned है Friends of BRICS meeting. You can just read through it. It was held before this Johannesburg summit. So you find that all these countries, Iran, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, which have become eventual members, participated. Apart from it, Belarus, which has very close ties with Russia. Yes, Burundi, Kazakhstan and Cuba also participated, and there was this Friends of BRICS meeting. The objective is to promote interaction of BRICS with close allies to enhance its influence. Next very important organization once again is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Yes, so it was in news because India for the first time hosted the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, but unlike the expectation that it would be a grand event like, say, or comparable to G20, we chose to host it virtually. Yes. Why did we choose to host it virtually? Maybe in context of Russia-Ukraine war. We did not want the optics of Russian president visiting India. Yes, because we have close ties with our Western allies. Also because Iran became a full member in this summit. So Iran, once again an anti-West country, we did not want to, maybe because of that reason, we chose not to physically host the SCO summit. Fine, SCO as such traces its origin, to Shanghai 5, which was established in 1996. It traces its origin to Shanghai 5, which was established in 1996. And Shanghai 5 comprised 5 countries. और वो कौन सी थी 5 countries? Russia, China, plus the 3 Central Asian republics which actually border China. Yes, can you see it over here? Yes, the 3 Central Asian republics which border China. So if you look, there is Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Yes, so you have Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. And Shanghai 5 was created. Later on in 2001, Uzbekistan decided to join SCO. Yes, and with Uzbekistan deciding to join SCO, the name of Shanghai 5 was changed to Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Its name was changed to SCO. Yes, from Shanghai 5 it became SCO. The next expansion takes place in 2017 when India and Pakistan, yes, India and Pakistan joined SCO as part of the Astana summit. Yes, under Astana summit, India and Pakistan joined. And recently in 2023, Iran has also joined to become a full member of SCO. Yes. So if somebody says when SCO was established in 1996, is it a correct statement or an incorrect statement? It is an incorrect statement. SCO was established only in 2001, not before that. Yes. Shanghai 5, we trace the origin of SCO, but SCO as such is established in 2001. Now these all are the member countries. Which is the only Central Asian republic which is not a member country of SCO? It is here. You have Turkmenistan. Sorry, Uzbekistan was this. This is Uzbekistan. And this country that we see is Turkmenistan. So Turkmenistan is the only Central Asian republic. Is the only Central Asian republic which is not a member of SCO. What is the reason that they have decided not to join SCO? What is the reason? Because they follow a neutral foreign policy. Yes, just like Switzerland is not a member of EU, because it also follows neutral foreign policy, therefore they have also decided not to join SCO. It is a question in itself. You can have a full-fledged question. One question asked, Turkmenistan, which of the following Central Asian republics is not a member country of SCO? Yes. Anyways, which are the observer countries of SCO? Which are the observer countries of SCO? You have Mongolia, Belarus and Afghanistan. out of which you find Afghanistan, Belarus. Yes, Belarus has submitted its application to become a full member country of SCO. And now if you look at SCO's membership as such, you have China, you have Russia, you have Iran. Yes, and eventually if say Belarus were also to join, its image will turn into more anti-West. Anyways, it is looked upon by the Western world as an anti-NATO organization. Yes, SEO has a very anti-West image. It is looked upon by the West as an anti-West or an anti-NATO organization which wants to check the influence of the Western countries in Central Asia and this region. Fine. Now as such, where is the headquarter of SEO? It is in Beijing, though the name says Shanghai. Yes, why is it named Shanghai? Because the first summit was held in Shanghai. Yes, otherwise the headquarter is in Beijing. So you have the headquarter or the secretariat which is in Beijing. This is one permanent body. The second permanent body is RATS, Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure. This is once again a very, very important body of SCO. Yes, there are two permanent bodies. One is the Secretariat and the other is the RATS. In fact, India decided to join SCO because it wanted to see cooperation through RATS. RATS is Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure. Basically, it is a body comprising professionals who gather intelligence on terrorist organizations. Yes, and it is based in Tashkent. It is based in Tashkent. There is something known as the Shanghai Spirit. It encapsulates the principles of functioning of SCO. Yes, so what are the Shanghai Spirit principles or SCO principles? It emphasizes on respect for sovereignty or sovereign equality, territorial integrity, domestic non-interference, cultural cooperation and non-alignment. In fact, these last two principles are very, very important. Cultural cooperation is one of the principles of cooperation under SCO. Yes, generally you do not find organizations having cultural cooperation as one of the principles on which they will base their relations. Here they talk about cultural cooperation, which is quite unique, and secondly they emphasize on non-alignment. Yes, that means the member countries do not necessarily have to share a common worldview. Yes, the member countries need not share a common worldview. That is not required. And this is the ground on which India, which is very good friends with the Western countries, justifies its membership of SCO. Yes, I generally tend to mention, when did India join SCO? In 2017. And in 2017 itself, there was revitalization of Quad. Yes, Quad, which was originally established in 2007, had fallen dormant by 2008 and it was revitalized only in 2017. So it is a major balancing act that we can see by Government of India, whereby on one side we are revitalizing Quad, which is a organization or a body to counterbalance China in the Indo-Pacific. On the other hand, we are becoming a full member of SCO. Fine. So these are some basic information with respect to SEO. Now, as such, what was the highlight of the summit that was hosted by India? Yes, India assumed the rotating chairmanship of SEO at the Samarkand summit. Samarkand summit, Samarkand कहाँ है? उज्बेकिस्तान. Yes, next अभी फिलहाल जो president है of SEO, that is Kazakhstan. Yes, and the theme of the summit that we hosted was secure, towards a secure SEO. And this acronym was actually coined by Prime Minister Modi way back in 2018 summit. The second summit when we participated, he coined this acronym called secure. And secure stands for security, economic development, connectivity, unity, respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and environmental protection. Yes. What is the aim of SEO? One of the aim or the primary aim of SEO as such is to fight the triple evils of separatism, extremism, and terrorism. Yes. So you find that New Delhi Declaration, which was signed to counter activities of terrorists, separatists, and the extremist groups, prevent spread of religious intolerance, aggressive nationalism, ethnic or racial discrimination, xenophobia, etc. ठीक है, तो that is in line with what generally SEO has to say. Yes. India has established 5 new pillars of cooperation within SEO, that is startup and innovation, traditional medicine, youth empowerment, digital inclusion, and shared Buddhist heritage. In fact, this is a very important part of the cultural diplomacy that Government of India has always focused upon and is focusing a lot more presently. So Buddhist diplomacy, yeah, cultural diplomacy. Iran became the 9th permanent member, and Kashi or Varanasi was designated as the first tourism or the cultural capital of SEO. Yes. Fine, you can look into the 6 dialogue partners as well. And as far as SEO is concerned, see, you generally have to be an observer state to become a full member state of SEO. India was also an observer since 2005 until we became a full member state in 2017. Yes. And the structure is Council of Head of States, Council of Head of Governments, 2 permanent bodies. Official language of SEO क्या है? Russian and Chinese. Actually, Shanghai 5 actually was established by China. Yes, China, which shares borders with these 3 Central Asian republics, was concerned about growing insurgency in that region. Yes, there is ethnic conflict that takes place. You have Uyghur Xinjiang province located there. Yes, so and as a consequence, there was military build-up in that area. So basically, China was interested to demilitarize that area. That means reduce military presence so as to focus on development. तो उस perspective से China ने organization establish किया. Russia is the traditional hegemon of Central Asia. Yes, Russia is the traditional hegemon of Central Asia. Why? Yes, the 5 CARs, the 5 Central Asian republics actually were part of USSR, erstwhile USSR. Yes, so in fact SEO का इसी वजह से उन्होंने Russia and China, है ना, Shanghai 5 had Russia's presence, and the official language of SEO is Russian and Chinese, and SEO also serves as an observer to UN General Assembly. Fine. In fact, this region, I'll just show it to you on the PPT once I open it. this region of Central Asia as such is important. Yes, I am not able to access it. You'll have to. Fine. That region as such is also important. You need to know the two important rivers in that region, Amu Darya, Sir Darya. You need to know the relative location of the countries. है ना, Central Asia के साथ India's engagement has been growing. Yes, we have also institutionalized our relation. That means we have summit level relation. उससे पहले we had started with India Central Asia dialogue at foreign minister level in 2019, and 2022 we institutionalized our relation at summit level. Fine. So you find that our relations with Central Asia is growing. Central Asia is a very, very important region when it comes to our, कल हमने एक बस corridor mention किया था, INSTC corridor. Yes. So Central Asia as such important. फिर SCO की वजह से भी काफ़ी important है. Yes, we can expect a question there. So be thorough with respect to that map. Political map and whatever है ना, वहाँ पे strapeze वगैरह है. In geography you must have seen the physical map as well. Otherwise, if you have not seen, go back home and have a look. Yes, fine. The next topic that we are looking into is Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank, as such you find that this is Asian Development Bank has launched a new country partnership strategy for India. I don't think so the country partnership strategy for India as such in detail would be important, but what is important is Asian Development Bank in itself. In fact, NDB is compared with AIIB and ADB. NDB was visualized by China as an alternative to World Bank as well as Asian Development Bank. क्यों? क्योंकि Asian Development Bank में भी Western hegemony दिखती है. It is Asian Development Bank is led by Japan, and the next biggest stakeholder is US. Japan is an ally of US. Ally का मतलब क्या है? Its foreign policy and defense policy is guided by US. Yes, so it is in this context Asian Development Bank also reflects Western hegemony. Yes, so NDB was conceptualized as an alternative to ADB as well as World Bank. Fine, so it was established in 1966. Headquarter is Manila, Philippines. Mandate is to provide loans, technical assistance, promote social and economic development, facilitates policy dialogue, providing advisory services, all this. 68 members are there, and you have to be careful. All 49 are from Asia and 19 are from Pacific. So though Asian Development Bank, few Pacific countries and Pacific coast countries are also, or countries like US are also members. India is a founding member. US and Japan have the highest shareholding. China and India have 6.4 and 6.3% shareholding. Yes, and we are one of the primary beneficiaries when it comes out of ADB. ठीक है, तो ADB in the general you should be aware of it, and then जो factual information है you can just read through. ADB की headquarter is in Philippines. Next topic is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF. IPEF once again is a, ये वो बंद हो गया है जो ये दोनों PPTs आप ओपन कर दीजिए. I think so class 2 ये हो गए. फाइन. एक सेकंड, और ये वाला इसको भी बैकग्राउंड में ओपन करके रख लेते हैं. इसको मिनिमाइज कर दो. फाइन. ठीक है, IPEF once again a relatively new initiative. It was launched in the year 2022. It is an initiative of the Biden administration, Joseph Biden administration. Now IPEF is very very important है ना, इस साल के लिए prelims के लिए और even for mains IPEF is a very very important topic once again. IPEF, it is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework of Cooperation. Generally जब भी हम economic cooperation की बात करते हैं, what do we understand by it? Whenever we are to undertake economic cooperation, what is the first step? You liberalize tariff. Yes, to encourage trade, you liberalize tariff, you increase market access for investment, for services, whatever it is. You increase market access and you liberalize tariff. But IPEF is unique, whereby it does not deal with either of the two. It is not about tariff reduction. It is not about tariff reduction or increasing market access. Yes, it is a framework of cooperation whereby once again they have identified 4 pillars of cooperation. Which are the 4 pillars? Trade, supply chain, clean economy and fair economy. So they have identified 4 pillars of cooperation, and under these 4 pillars the aim is harmonization of regulation. So amongst the member countries, the regulations will be harmonized across the 4 pillars of cooperation. In fact, the trade pillar is also referred to as the pillar of connected economy. Connected economy. Yes, whereby the focus is more on digital trade, data flow, data localization, etc. Supply chain is about establishing resilient supply chains. Yes, clean economy will of course focus on decarbonization, and fair economy will check money laundering, tax evasion, yes, all such things. Yes, fine. So these are the 4 pillars whereby the aim is to go for harmonization of rules and regulations. Yes, the member countries, however, have a choice. They need not always cooperate across all the 4 pillars. They can adopt a pick and choose attitude, whereby they can choose 1 pillar, 2 pillar, 3 pillar while leaving other pillars. But once they decide to cooperate vis-a-vis 1 pillar, they are going to go for full cooperation within that pillar. For example, India has opted out of the trade pillar. We are going to participate only as an observer under the trade pillar. For the remaining 3 pillars, we are going to be actively negotiating of harmonization of our rules and regulations. Yes, ठीक है. तो पिक एंड चूज एटीट्यूड है, जहाँ पे ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर मेंबर कंट्री हर पिलर चूज करे, बट so there is flexibility given to the member countries, but once you choose pillar, you have to go for all out cooperation vis-a-vis that pillar. Yes, also which are the member countries of IPEF? There were 13 founding members and 13 है, इसीलिए इसको बोला जाता है bakers dozen, because bakers had this tradition of throwing in extra loaf of bread. Dozen में 12 ही होते हैं, but यहाँ पे 13. So bakers dozen. Now which are the member countries? See, you can remember it this way. It is Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific की जब भी हम बात करते हैं, we emphasize, at least India emphasizes centrality of the ASEAN countries. Yes, so there the major members are the ASEAN countries. But all ASEAN countries have chosen not to participate. So ASEAN countries minus Laos, minus Cambodia, and minus Myanmar. So there are 10 ASEAN countries, out of which Laos, Cambodia and Myanmar will not participate. Logically you can understand Myanmar, since the military coup, is facing a lot of international sanctions. Internationally isolated hai wo. Laos, Cambodia are LDCs or developing countries. Yes, and their economy is very much dependent on Chinese economy. Therefore they have chosen not to be part of IPEF. Apart from it, there are the 5 FTA partners of ASEAN. कल हमने पढ़ा था 6 FTA partners हैं ASEAN के. क्या क्या हैं? There is China, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. Yes. Now this is US led initiative. Will US have China in this? No. So China is not present. Remaining 5 FTA partners, yes, of ASEAN will be the members. So 7 ASEAN plus 5 FTA partners of ASEAN. 5 FTA partners kya? India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. 12. And 13th country kaun sa hai? US. So yes, these are the 13 founding members. And just as it was announced, within a few months Fiji decided to join. So Fiji is the 14th member country. Fiji is the Pacific island nation. Yes, so ASEAN minus 3 plus its 5 FTA partners plus US plus Fiji. These are the 14 members of IPEF. Now IPEF has been criticized as since it carries no dollar value. There is no tariff liberalization or increasing market access. Also it is criticized because it maybe symbolizes America First policy. America First policy is associated with Biden generally, Trump. उनको चाहिए mic. है ना, तो you find that Biden also, when he was making a case for IPEF to the US Congress, he said that it would be primarily beneficial for US. तो इस वजह से IPEF is also criticized that it once again reflects America First attitude and carries no dollar value.
Ma'am, what's the significance of India being only an observer in Pillar 1?
India is not going to be actively participating. India is going to be an observer. Observer का मतलब क्या होता है? They will just sit and observe the negotiations that are going on. Yes. So it is said that when India wants to become a member, once India wants to choose to cooperate on that pillar or harmonize their rules and regulation on that pillar, they can easily join that pillar. But as of now, India has opted out and India has chosen just to be an observer because India is a member of IPF. But because as far as data localization and all this is concerned, data privacy law is concerned, there is some, we did not find ourselves comfortable in joining this pillar. So we have decided to just sit as observers. We'll just observe as the members negotiate vis-a-vis harmonization of rules and regulations.
So we can also like opt out as an observer.
Yes, we can opt out, but there is no point of opting out. We are a member of IPEF. हम observe करने में तो कोई हर्ज नहीं है. Yes. So it is better we get to know exactly what kind of negotiations, what is their point of view and all that. Yes. Also, why did US launch IPEF? एक तो है to counter China, yes. Also because Russia-Ukraine war had begun by this time. So they wanted to show to these Indo-Pacific countries that they have not lost sight of the Indo-Pacific region. Yes, and secondly, US is not part of RCEP. Yesterday, did I tell you the membership of RCEP? Yes, बताया था है ना. RCEP का membership, I think so, I must have told you, ASEAN plus 5 FTA partners. India is not there, China is there. So you find that US is not part of RCEP. Yes, US under Trump had also withdrawn from Trans-Pacific Partnership, whose name has been changed to Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. You can go back home and look into the membership of Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is also an important organization. Yes, so you find that since US is neither part of Trans-Pacific Partnership, Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, plus not a part of RCEP, so it is like a foot in the door strategy. ठीक है. और आज के दिन टेरिफ लिबरलाइजेशन और मार्केट एक्सेस पे क्यों नहीं बात कर रहा है इंडो पैसिफिक इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क? बिकॉज यूएस इटसेल्फ रिमेन्स डिवाइडेड. यूएस में देर इज राइज ऑफ प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट टेंडेंसीज. यस, so US itself remains divided as to how much free trade it wants to encourage. So it is in this context, it is a foot in the door strategy, whereby they are not committing to tariff liberalization, they are going for harmonization of rules and regulations, while also being economically, somewhere economic domain mein involvement with these countries.
The criticism of IPF, you said no dollar barrier. Can you please explain it again?
No dollar value, है ना. तो why no dollar value? Because there is no direct market access increase, है ना. No tariff liberalizations. It will not tantamount to increase in trade volumes. Immediately it does not result in increasing trade volumes. Only when there is tariff liberalization, immediately there is increase in bilateral trade or regional trade volumes. Okay, so that is what we mean. Fine. So this is with respect to IPEF. IPEF once again very, very important. Fine. अभी वहाँ पे लिबर्टेरियन गवर्नमेंट आ गई है. ठीक है, तो लिबर्टेरियन वही पॉलिटिकल है ना, डेमोक्रेसी है तो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज बदलती रहती है. अभी लिबर्टेरियन जिनका अप्रोच है, लिबर्टेरियन क्या है? आइडियोलॉजिकल स्पेक्ट्रम होता है. इफ देर इज एन आइडियोलॉजिकल स्पेक्ट्रम, वन साइड इज राइट, ऑन द अदर साइड इज लेफ्ट. राइट वाले ज़्यादा नेशनलिस्ट होते हैं, लेफ्ट वाले दे टेंड टू वर्क मोर फॉर द पुअर, फॉर द लेबरर्स. Yes, on the right they are said to be biased towards the industrialists. So you find they have a libertarian government. Libertarian government is to the extreme right, है ना. लिबर्टी पे एम्फोसाइज करते हैं. जो एक्सट्रीम राइट, एक्सट्रीम लिबर्टी की बात करते हैं, लिबर्टेरियन. देयरफॉर दे से दैट देयर वर्ल्ड व्यू इज मोर अलाइंड टू यूएस एंड यूरोप. इसीलिए ना, क्योंकि ब्रिक्स इज एंटी वेस्ट और उनका वर्ल्ड व्यू किसके साथ ज़्यादा अलाइंड है? वेस्ट के साथ, है ना. वहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट चेंज हुई इस वजह से. India has also proposed collaboration on biofuels within IPEF. Yes, all this I have discussed. So you can just read through what they have mentioned. All this we have already discussed. Then International Maritime Organization. I think so last year they had asked a mains question on International Maritime Organization. In mains, UPSC has a tendency to ask one such organization, या one such question, which we could not generally foresee coming, है ना. Offbeat question एक पूछते हैं वो. Fine. So they had asked last time International Maritime Organization, once again an important organization. Why? Because it was in news. India was re-elected to IMO Council with the highest tally at elections held for this. उस समय भी हम elect हुए थे, अभी फिर से re-elect हुए. Yes. You find Genesis क्या है? It is a specialized agency of United Nations. Headquarter London है. इसका एम क्या होगा? सेफ, सिक्योर मैरीटाइम ट्रेड, एफिशिएंट मैरीटाइम ट्रेड, sustainable, environmentally sustainable maritime trade. Yes, so member countries 176 members, 3 associate members. The structure is assembly, council and 5 main committees along with few subcommittees. Now role of IMO for environmental protection. IMO's मारपोल कन्वेंशन मेरीटाइम या मरीन पोल्यूशन पे कन्वेंशन है इनका. Yes, it is a key convention to prevent and minimize pollution from shipping. है ना, ये मारपोल stands for maritime pollution या marine pollution. Yes, so through shipping, by accident or as such, because there is commercial shipping, so in operation also there is pollution, or because of shipping accidents there might be pollution, to prevent both. Then they also have something particularly sensitive sea areas for higher protection. Yes, you can go through this. London Dumping Convention and Protocol, IMO 2020 rule, energy efficiency, existing ship index. Role of IMO in maritime safety and security. Some conventions, all these are there. IMO Council. अच्छा, इंडिया किस कैटेगरी में इलेक्ट हुई है? States with interest in seaborne trade. Yes. So there are 3 category के members होते हैं. The council members are divided into 3 categories. States with interest in providing international shipping services. हम shipping services नहीं देते. We are interested in seaborne international trade. And states with special interest in maritime transport or navigation, whose election will ensure representation of all major geographic areas of the world. Yes, IMO Council, you can look into it. It is the executive organ for supervising the work of the organization. As such, go through it. And UPSC tends to repeat themes at times. You never know. So IMO factual hai jo bhi, but still then just read through it. Don't miss out on it. Next is G7. Yes, G7 once again a very, very important grouping. Yes, when was it established? It was established as such in 1975. In fact, in 1795 when it was established as G6. Yes, Canada was not a member. Yes, it was established in 1975 as G6. तो G6 में क्या था? US, you had Britain, France, Germany, Italy, yes, Japan. These were the 6 countries. Then in 1976 it became G7. Canada joined in. Later on in 1981. See, some say that EU is not a member. They also in this notes also it is mentioned EU participate but is not a member. लेकिन आप अगर वेबसाइट पे जाओगे और भी दूसरे आर्टिकल्स पढ़ोगे तो यू फाइंड दैट दे से EU इज अ नॉन एन्यूमरेटेड मेंबर. मतलब वो काउंटिंग में नहीं लिया जा रहा. दो EU इज एक्टिवली पार्टिसिपेटिंग, फुल फ्लेजेडली पार्टिसिपेटिंग with G7, but it is not counted. जैसे G20 में EU was counted. We had 19 countries plus EU. Yes, but here you find that EU as such is not counted. So there is this, some say it is not a member country but it actively participates. Others say it is a non-enumerated member. Yes, EU as a non-enumerated member of G7. Then in 1998 till 2014, it became G8 with Russia being made a member of G7. Yes. Why was Russia made a member of G7? G7 countries क्या हैं? They are industrialized countries which in 1970s or 1980s they used to contribute around 75% of the global GDP. Yes, so they were developed, wealthy democracies. Developed countries, they were democratic countries, plus they had substantial contribution to global GDP. Yes, however, Russia was made to join in 1998. Why? Because in 1991, USSR had disintegrated and successor of USSR is recognized as Russia. But Russia as such was not a very industrialized country. है ना, उस समय its economy was suffering. है ना, so you find then why did, in fact it was Bill Clinton administration which took a lead to getting Russia within G7 and G7 becoming G8. There were two objectives of Bill Clinton administration. One is to bring Russia within the Western world order, get it further integrated. है ना, जैसे disintegration हुआ USSR का, since then it is not a communist country. Yes, it left the idea of communism. However, to get it further integrated into the Western world order, Western economic order, yes, they chose to get Russia in G7 and make it G8. The second reason was, we will study later on, NATO. है ना, NATO जो organization है, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO was going for eastward expansion, whereby it would now bring in former USSR, है ना, Soviets, former Soviets of USSR within its domain. So to give some solace, है ना, to as a carrot for Russia, ताकि वो oppose ना करे इस चीज़ को, eastward expansion of NATO to include former Soviets of USSR. Yes, so because of these two reasons it was brought in, and ultimately in 2014 its membership was suspended because Russia had annexed the Crimean Peninsula. Yes, in 2014, March 2014. Fine, so this is with respect to अच्छा, EU के context में कौन participate करता है? Who represents EU in G7? EU is represented by the President of the European Council and President of the European Commission. European Commission is the executive body, है ना, it's like the bureaucratic body of EU, and European Council is the body of the leaders of EU member states. ठीक है, EU का structure में there are 4 primary bodies: European Council, Council of EU, European Commission, European Parliament. क्या क्या है? यूरोपियन पार्लियामेंट सबको समझ में आता है. यूरोपियन कमीशन है. कमीशन इज नथिंग बट एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बॉडी बोल दो या एग्जीक्यूटिव बॉडी. इट इज लाइक यू कैन कंपेयर इट टू परमानेंट ब्यूरोक्रेसी. इन केस ऑफ इंडिया वी हैव ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, सो इट इज़ लाइक अ ब्यूरोक्रेटिक बॉडी, और यही मेजर रोल परफॉर्म करता है. यही एक्चुअली रिप्रेजेंट करता है EU को in these international platforms. Then they have something known as European Council, which is basically leaders of the member countries coming together. Yes, and there is something known as Council of Europe or Council of EU. It comprises ministers from each member country appointed to represent the national interest, to uphold the national interest. In fact, EU कैसा organization है? What is the nature of EU? Or it represents what? Regional organization तो है. Yes, EU is one of the earliest regional organization, या first भी बोल देते हैं. Yes, का है ना, ASEAN, SAARC के comparison में we trace its origin to formation of European Coal and Steel Community in 1950-51. But as such, EU represents supranationalism. You rise above your national identity and you look upon yourself as a European citizen. जो भी EU member country है, यूरोपियन यूनियन कौन से ट्रीटी के थ्रू फॉर्म हुआ था? maastricht treaty of 1993. Yes, it also gave citizenship, European citizenship to all the citizens of EU member states. तो ये एक supranational organization है जहाँ पे emphasis है on the larger European identity. और यहाँ पे काफ़ी इनके जैसे है ना, काफ़ी bodies हैं which help in operation of EU. Four primary bodies are European Parliament, European Commission, Council of Europe and European Council. So you find European Parliament and European Commission या जो भी बाकी इनकी जो भी bodies हैं, they are all examples of supranationalism. However, only Council of Europe and European Council are intergovernmental in nature. समझ में आ रहा है? Yes, any doubt? Why is it intergovernmental in nature? Because look at the members. European Council में leaders, president or the PMs of the member countries will be there. And in Council of Europe, once again, one minister from one member state to uphold the national interest. Yes, so that is the idea. Fine, so these two are the intergovernmental body. Remaining all bodies of EU generally tend to be supranational, है ना? They represent supranationalism. Fine. So anyways, I was telling you, EU is represented by President of European Council as well as President of European Commission. Yes. Fine. Now what is the nature of G7 as an organization? ये भी informal forum है, just like G20, G7 is also an informal forum. Informal forum का मतलब क्या है? No permanent secretariat, the declarations are not legally binding, no formal charter. Yes, so it is also informal in nature. And the presidency rotates amongst the member countries who will set the agenda for that particular year, provide logistic supports, provide a secretariat. Yes. Yes, so why was it in news? Because last year Hiroshima में इनका summit हुआ था. Japan had hosted the G7 summit. Yes, on the sidelines of this G7 summit, India was also invited. India has been a regular invitee to this summit. Yes, और उसके अलावा on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Hiroshima, what had happened? Quad summit had also taken place, but Quad summit was hosted by Australia. Yes, all this we have covered already. Achievements आप पढ़ लेना. Achievement क्या? Played a crucial role in setting up global fund to fight malaria, AIDS, and PGII. Yes, which we had referred to yesterday, is one of the major initiative which was announced in 2022. Achha, this is important. RISE is important. Resilient and inclusive supply chain enhancement. It is an initiative of World Bank and G7 under Japan's presidency. Japan's अभी last year ही announce हुआ था the RISE initiative. Yes, it is a $40 million partnership project to diversify supply chains for clean energy products. Aim is to support yes, क्या है? Diversify supply chain for clean energy products to support low and middle income countries to play a bigger role in midstream and downstream in supply chain of clean energy products. Next organization that we have is GCC. GCC once again is always an important organization. GCC के member countries कौन-कौन से हैं? You can look into this diagram, है ना, this map that they have shown. See, GCC, Saudi Arabia, actually Gulf Cooperation Council है. So Gulf countries would be the members. How many Gulf countries are there? There are 7 Gulf countries. है ना तो 6 है ना 8 है. There are 7 Gulf countries. Which are these 7 Gulf countries? Iraq, Kuwait. You have Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman. Yes, these are the 7 Gulf countries. So in fact, GCC at one point comprised 7 Gulf countries, but Iraq was later on suspended of the membership, and now it comprises 6 countries. Yes, so you need to know the relative location. Saudi Arabia there will be no confusion, but Kuwait, then you have Bahrain. Second is, after Kuwait you have Bahrain, whose capital is Manama. Then you have Qatar, capital is Doha. Then you have UAE and Oman. Yes, so with respect to Qatar and Bahrain, at times you tend to get confused, so just maybe B comes before Q. That is how you can just remember Bahrain and Qatar. Fine, be careful, Iran is not a member, neither is Yemen. Yes, there are 6 countries which are member of Gulf Cooperation Council. It was established in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 1981. Headquarter is in Riyadh. It is a political and economic alliance of countries in the Gulf region. They have also emphasized that, remember, Iran and Iraq are not its members. Official language is Arabic, and GCC is increasingly important for us. We are looking at institutionalization of our relations. Institutionalization of relation का मतलब क्या है? Regularly meeting these countries. ठीक है, उसी को institutionalization बोलते हैं. Yes, a group of countries, when we cannot meet year on year, every country is a leader. So as a common, they come together and we meet them. So this is known as institutionalization. Central Asia के साथ institutionalize किया. ASEAN के साथ we have a summit level relation. Yes, similarly with the GCC, we are wanting to institutionalize our relation. We have in fact signed an MOU to institutionalize our relations. Yes, it is also the largest trading partner bloc of India. It is the largest supplier of oil and natural gas to India. Yes, so very, very important. And this GCC has been in news in context of Qatar. In context of Qatar, we had our ex-naval officers who were given death sentence, and then through diplomacy we were able to get them back. Yes, so it is about this India's legal assistance abroad. So government of India has said that yes, we should provide legal assistance to Indians who are caught up in foreign countries or who are in foreign countries' jails. Yes, and you find a substantial portion of Indians who are in jail overseas happen to be in Gulf countries. Yes, Gulf countries is also important because we have a large diaspora, around 8 million diaspora of India in Gulf countries. So इसमें वही है, yes, the mission does not fight the case in the court. The Indian mission will provide assistance in the form of a language interpreter. Yes, financial assistance. Lawyer's fee is paid from Indian Community Welfare Fund, and PIOs and OCIs are not eligible for individual financial assistance from Indian Community Welfare Fund. Next organization that we have is NATO. NATO has been in news, yes, quite for the past 2 years. They have been quite in news. Yes, NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And recently it was in news because Sweden has joined as the 32nd member country. Finland had joined last year, and in 2022, in 2023 they had joined, and Sweden has joined in 2024. Yes, NATO is an organization which is based on the idea of collective defense, which is, in fact, there were two organizations during Cold War. The other was Warsaw Pact, which was led by USSR. And once USSR disintegrated, when did it disintegrate? December 1991, Warsaw was officially disbanded. Okay? And both these organizations were based on the idea of collective defense. We yesterday referred to this concept of collective security. Do you remember? One for all and all for one. So if there is an attack on any member country, all countries will come together to punish the aggressor. Collective security is the idea on which UN is based, or UN seeks to ensure global peace and security through collective security. Now, what is collective defense? That is collective security. So that is what is collective security also. Similar है ना, वही तो है कि तभी तो सब आएंगे उसको पनिश करने को, एग्रेसर को. अभी ट्रंप ने यही तो कहा है कि if you do not meet your financial commitments under the rest of the NATO countries, if he is elected the president, he will let Russia have its way with these countries. Yes. The difference is, generally in collective defense, the enemy is predetermined. So for NATO country, the enemy country during Cold War was very clear, it was USSR and the communist countries. Now also NATO Russia at least believes that the primary enemy of NATO is Russia. Yes, so Russia is very much concerned about eastward expansion of NATO to in fact include Ukraine within it. Yes, so anyways, collective defense and collective security very similar. Here in collective defense, attack on one will be considered as attack on all. So therefore all will come together to punish the aggressor. But the difference is enemy is predetermined. In fact, abhi kya tha? There is this concept of NATO plus countries. Yes, in fact, one of the legislators in US had introduced a bill saying that India will be made a NATO plus country. India immediately rejected it, saying that this framework does not suit India. Why? Because India has been an ardent critique of collective defense. In fact, Nehru had said that collective defense is nothing but a very tensed state of peace. So peace should be peaceful. It cannot be tensed. Yes, but he said collective defense. They justify collective defense saying that it is a stepping stone to collective security. Collective security operationalized at a lower level. But India says no, it is not similar to collective security. It is a tense state of peace. So we have rejected this idea. Anyways, collective defense as such in NATO is mentioned under Article 5 of the NATO Charter. And this idea of collective defense derives its authority, they believe, from Article 51 of the UN Charter. Yes, Article 5 is important of the NATO Charter. And if you can remember, Article 51 of the UN Charter is said to be the basis of authority for NATO, or this idea of collective defense. Fine. Fine. Article 5 or collective defense has been invoked only once in response to 9/11 terrorist attack on the US. Yes, genesis of NATO. NATO was established in 1949 by the Washington Treaty. There were 12 founding members of NATO, 12 founding member countries of NATO. Which are these 12 founding member countries of NATO? Yes, it was US, it was the Benelux countries, Canada. Yes, Benelux stands for Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Yes, you had France, Italy, Portugal, Norway, Iceland, and Denmark, and Denmark and UK. Yes, so these were the founding member countries of NATO. Yes, and now the membership has eventually expanded to 32 countries, whereby 30 European nations are there apart from US and Canada. Yes, as far as its expansion is concerned, you can note down that it was in 1999. It was in 1999 that Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland, former Warsaw Pact countries, joined NATO. Yes, then in 2004, the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia. These three countries, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, these are former Soviet Union. They were part of the former Soviet Union, former Soviets of Soviet Union. They joined NATO. Yes, and finally you find Finland and Sweden have also joined NATO. They have also joined NATO in context of Russia-Ukraine war. They have abandoned their policy of neutrality and they have decided to join NATO. Yes, there can be a question on this policy of neutrality. What do you mean by policy of neutrality? It is not taking sides, and not always about isolation. Neutrality is about not taking sides between the warring parties in a dispute. So in case of a dispute, in case of a war, they choose not to take sides. They will generally be war averse. Yes, and it is unlike the idea of non-alignment. Neutrality is generally written into the constitution. Generally speaking, it is a legal status. Yes, whereby you choose not to take sides in conflict. Yes, and neutrality is generally distinguished from the policy of non-alignment. It is generally distinguished from the policy of non-alignment. We understand non-alignment. Non-alignment is not about not taking sides. We are willing to take side, but we were not willing to be persuaded to taking one side just because membership of a camp during Cold War. And it is a political status or political concept. It is not written into the constitution or anything. It is an idea, it is a policy. Yes? Fine. So this is how we distinguish neutrality from non-alignment. And these two countries, Sweden and Finland, have abandoned their policy of neutrality to join NATO in context of Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, how many Nordic countries are there? 5 Nordic countries are there. Which are they? Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark and Iceland. So now with these two joining, all the Nordic countries have become part of NATO. Yes? हाँ, कलेक्टिव डिफेंस बेसिकली उन्होंने ISAF किया था ना, इंटरनेशनल सिक्योरिटी असिस्टेंस फोर्स. यूएस का रिस्पॉन्स क्या था? 9/11 टेररिस्ट अटैक पे यूएस का क्या रिस्पॉन्स था? दे लॉन्च्ड ग्लोबल वॉर ऑन टेरर. और ये कहाँ लॉन्च किया था? अफगानिस्तान में लॉन्च किया था. ठीक है, तो इस अफगानिस्तान में जब ये वॉर के लिए गए तो the force that was leading this war was ISAF, and ISAF comprised, इसको बोलते हैं International Security Assistance Force. They were military forces or armed forces of NATO countries led by US. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए इस context में नहीं, रशिया कनाडा से दूर है लेकिन कम्युनिस्ट कंट्री के अगेंस्ट था ना. See, it was a capitalist country. It has joined the US-led capitalist camp, and then it was North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Canada is a very dear friend of US, but yes, it would want to join such military association. In fact, Japan, countries like Japan could not have joined क्योंकि Transatlantic Treaty Organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization है. Yes, so Japan as such is part of NATO plus countries. Yes, so you find that is the reason. All the capitalist countries would want to join, and those countries located in Europe as well as in North America, they joined NATO.
Ma'am, since the policy of non-alignment is not written anywhere, so can we say that it can change in future accordingly?
Yes, it has already changed quite a bit. We say that India followed, we were truly non-aligned until 1971. Yes, when we signed the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and Cooperation with USSR, erstwhile USSR, our policy of non-alignment became tilted towards USSR. Post 1990, in 1991, once a disintegration of USSR takes place, the world order changed. We became tilted towards the Western world. Yes? So it is a dynamic policy which will change according to time. Anything else? Yes.
Ma'am, why Russia is more concerned about Ukraine joining NATO? But Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, they are also bordering countries.
Yes.
Why this?
Why is Russia so interested? And अभी यूक्रेन का status क्या है with respect to NATO? It is a partner country of NATO. It is not a full-fledged member state. It is partner country. Next step of integration would be it becoming a full member country of NATO. Now, why is it? It's a good question. Why is it that Russia, already former Soviet Union and Soviets have joined NATO, but it never retaliated in this manner, whereas with respect to Ukraine, this is Ukraine, yes, this is Ukraine, yes, this is Belarus, and this is Ukraine. यहाँ पे एक छोटी सी country है Moldova. ठीक है. Now why is Russia so very concerned about Ukraine joining NATO? Why? It is similar to, if I can make that comparison, it is similar to Nepal. How Nepal is very, very important to India's security? वाई बफर के लिए. लेकिन अदरवाइज नेपाल का क्या प्रॉब्लम, क्या है नेपाल के साथ? इफ नेपाल जॉइंस चाइना, yes, they in that case or becomes very close to China, Nepal opens into northern Indian plains. And there is no natural barrier between Nepal and northern Indian plains. The Tarai region of Nepal opens into northern Indian plains, UP and Bihar. Similarly, when it comes to Ukraine, Ukraine provides unimpeded access, yes, into northern European plains of Russia. They can easily access Moscow, yes, via Ukraine. ठीक है, तो नदर्न यूरोपियन प्लेन्स के लिए ईजी एक्सेस प्रोवाइड होता है यूक्रेन के थ्रू. देयरफॉर vis-a-vis यूक्रेन इट इज सेड रशिया कैन एक्सेप्ट, रशिया वांट्स अ प्रो रशियन लीडरशिप इन यूक्रेन, or else it can make do with a neutral leadership in Ukraine, but it cannot accept a pro-Western leadership in Ukraine. And if Ukraine were to join NATO, security of Russia would be seriously jeopardized. Will Nepal becoming extremely close to China, entering into military alliance, security cooperation, security pact with China be acceptable to India? We are so concerned with respect to Bhutan signing the boundary deal with China, है ना. तो यहाँ पे वही है, we cannot accept Nepal. In fact, नेपाल के कंटेक्स्ट में इंडिया इज़ एक्सट्रीमली परप्लेक्स्ड, है ना. हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी हमेशा ही बहुत कंफ्यूज रही. वी से दैट आवर फॉरेन पॉलिसी विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू नेपाल हैज़ बीन टू माइक्रो मैनेज अफेयर्स इन नेपाल. वाई? बिकॉज वी ऑल्सो डू नॉट वॉन्ट, we want puppet governments in Nepal which will serve New Delhi's interests. Fine, so that is the reason. Anything else? Huh?
Why don't we just annex Nepal as a solution to that?
See, we cannot really annex countries like that. First, international community will not accept suddenly India going and annexing Nepal. Secondly, Nepal is important. We, British India also did not annex Nepal. Yes. In fact, the Gorkhas, the Nepali Gorkhas had lost several wars to British India. But still then, we were able to negotiate a boundary which is more favorable to India. Yes. But then they did not annex Nepal. Why? Because Nepal is looked upon as a buffer state. Yes, at times creating buffers is very important. If we annex Nepal, we come into direct border contact with China. In fact, Nepal, Tibet and Bhutan were looked upon as buffer states. And Nepal, the Nepali people themselves will not accept that suddenly we have, it is also the people of that region should accept India as a sovereignty. But Nepalese people will never accept India as sovereignty. India does not have, our civilizational values have not been such. We have never had expansionist foreign policy. So all those are the reasons, and we want it to serve as buffer, and Nepal will never accept annexation by India. And international community, they are not going to sit quiet. There will be ramifications. हम वहाँ पे puppet government we are not able to sustain. So we are now leaving that policy. We are allowing the government to have an independent. We don't seek to micromanage affairs. Until 2015, when we tried to do so, there was huge negative ramification for India. Yes, India had imposed an unofficial economic blockade on Nepal, which did not go well. Yes, so that is all. Fine. Fine. So EU members that are not part of NATO. So you have Austria, Cyprus, Ireland and Malta, which are not part of NATO. Now major non-NATO ally status. So US also gives major non-NATO ally status. Yes, provides foreign partners with certain benefits in areas of defense, trade and security cooperation. Please remember this: major non-NATO ally status is not equivalent to entering into any such security pact. Yes, but they have some privileged relation in terms of defense, trade and security cooperation. Once Pakistan was also given non-NATO major ally status during the global war on terror. Yes, but US has taken back that status from Pakistan. Yes, has designated 30 other countries including Japan, South Korea, Israel as MNNA. India is not MNNA. Then there is this idea of NATO plus grouping या NATO plus 5. Yes, so NATO plus 5 में कौन कौन से countries हैं? Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Israel and South Korea. They had suggested that India should also become part of NATO plus 5, or we would have become, then it would become NATO plus 6, but then we rejected the framework. Fine, next organization is Financial Action Task Force. Financial Action Task Force, what is this organization? It was established by the G7 summit in 1989. Yes, so it was established in 1989. Presently there are 37 member countries. One of them is India. India joined in 2010. Yes, it is an organization which wants to check money laundering and terrorist financing. Yes, it is an intergovernment body to combat money laundering and terrorist financing and other related threats to the integrity of the international financial system. There are 37 member countries. 2 regional organizations are also members, namely GCC and European Commission. The bureaucratic body of EU जो represent करता है EU को हर जगह. Yes, India joined FATF. Working क्या है? It sets international standards that aim to prevent illegal activities such as combat global money laundering, counter terrorist financing. It relies on a strong global network of 9 FATF style regional bodies. For example, Asia Pacific Group on Money Laundering. And countries which repeatedly fail to adhere to FATF standard are placed on grey or the black list. Pakistan was also placed on the grey list. In 2022 it came out of the grey list. Yes, so grey list क्या है? Jurisdiction under increased monitoring, and black list क्या है? High risk jurisdiction subject to a call for action. So countries that are considered safe haven for supporting terror funding and money laundering, and blacklist में non-cooperative countries or in fact terrorist entities are included. There is no mechanism as such. He is asking how do they enforce call to action. Yes, there is no mechanism per se, है ना, जिसके थ्रू कॉल टू एक्शन, ऐसे कोई मिलिट्री एक्शन वगैरह नहीं लेंगे, बट देर इज ज़ीरो कोऑपरेशन. Yes, you find international funding becomes very, very difficult. Yes, certain international assets are seized. That is how you try and prevent terrorist financing or money laundering, which easily happens in these countries. Yes, so these are countries which are safe haven, है ना, वहाँ पे आराम से हो रहा है terrorist financing and money laundering. They do not cooperate, they are not willing to cooperate. So first is grey list. If you do not cooperate, then you are put under blacklist. Yes, but there is no authority to take military action or any such thing. Fine, FATF suspended Russia's membership over Ukraine war. They added South Africa and Nigeria to its grey list. Yes, and Pakistan was removed, and they have recently released a report on crowdfunding for terrorism financing. Then there is Interpol. Maybe you can just go through these various colors. it does not seem very likely, but फिर भी है ना, just go through the है ना yellow notice and blue notice. And what is Interpol? It stands for International Criminal Police Organization. It is based in Vienna. It's a General Assembly meeting in Vienna celebrated its centenary year. CBI Academy of India joined the Interpol Global Academy Network. It was established in 1923. Headquarter is in Lyon, France. Purpose is to facilitate information exchange between national police forces. Members 196 country. You have General Assembly, General Secretariat, Executive Committee, National Central Bureau. It is the only organization with the mandate and technical infrastructure to share police information. Globally, it is not a police force. It does not have the power in its own to arrest anyone. Yes, and some key initiatives you can later on go through. Mecolin Convention. This was the 12th meeting of the Interpol Match Fixing Task Force, called for harmonized global efforts. Yes, go through this. Next organization happens to be IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association. Indian Ocean Rim Association, as such an important organization. UPSC has asked questions from IORA. IORA, it is an intergovernmental organization established in 1997. When it was established in 1997, it was known as IORARC, Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation. And it is established on the vision of Nelson Mandela. Yes, member countries कितनी हैं आज के दिन? There are 23 member countries. Member countries, know the member countries thoroughly, because UPSC in the past has asked a question on the member countries itself. So member countries, you can remember them in a sequence. Yes, by this time you should be in a position where you know few countries, है ना, surrounding littoral countries वगैरह कुछ पता होंगी. And there's a sequence you can see here. So which are the member countries? South Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia. Yes, on the eastern coast of Africa, these countries: Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa. Then you move to the Arabian coast, and Arabian Peninsula, sorry. So Arabian Peninsula में Yemen, Oman, UAE. Then you move ahead, you have Iran. Pakistan, as I told you in the last class, should have been a member. Gwadar port हम जानते हैं वहाँ पे, but Pakistan is not made a member of IORA. Why? India-led organization. Yes. Then you have India. India से you go into Bangladesh. Then Myanmar should have been, लेकिन Myanmar is not because of military coup. It has had, you know, mostly it has been internationally isolated. सिर्फ 2010 से 2020 के बीच में म्यांमार में there was democracy. Yes, from 2010 to 2020. Otherwise, since 1962, it has been under military rule. So you isolated है. फिर you have Thailand, next country. Thailand, then you have Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, you have Australia, and these are the member countries. Apart from it, you have some island nations: Sri Lanka, Maldives. है ना, तो South Asia का island nations are both are there. And when it comes to Africa also, you have Seychelles, Comoros, Madagascar, Mauritius, and French Reunion Islands. Fine. So all these are the member countries of IORA. What is the recently France has also joined. It is the 23rd. It became the 23rd member of IORA. Yes, because France has territory of Reunion and Mayotte Island. So it has also joined as a full member of IORA. Fine. What is the nature of IORA? Nature of IORA is also important. It is not mentioned. You can write it down. Yes, the nature is, it is an example of soft regionalism, open regionalism. It is tripartite. It is tripartite in nature, and decision making is based on consensus. Decision making is based on consensus, but voluntary या individual commitments या national commitments are on voluntary basis. Are on voluntary basis. Yes, so this is the nature of IORA. It is an example of soft regionalism and open regionalism. इसका मतलब क्या है? Soft regionalism, open. Open regionalism का मतलब क्या है? Generally we see closed regionalism in the world. Yes, SAARC, EU, RCEP are all examples of closed regionalism. Closed regionalism means tariff liberalization benefits would be limited to member countries alone. Yes, so in SAARC, EU, RCEP, NAFTA, TPP, in all these organizations जो भी tariff liberalization होगा उसका benefit किस तक limited है? Member countries only. But in case of open regionalism, whatever tariff liberalization they will agree upon will be a general reduction. A general reduction of national tariffs. National tariffs, और tariffs किसके context में? Custom duty ना. So India's average custom duty stands at 8 to 10%. So if we are part of open regionalism and we agree on tariff reduction, there will be a general reduction in our average custom duties. Fine. So this is what we mean by open regionalism. So this is very unique. We do not have many organizations which are examples of open regionalism. Yes? Yes.
Ma'am, if there is general reduction, then what's the point of becoming a member?
See, there are other types of cooperation. It is not limited to tariff reduction only. Yes, when you become a member, we'll see the aim of is economic cooperation. You increase economic cooperation. You might go for some harmonization of rules and regulations. You might take action for, this is a Indian Ocean Rim Association. So these are littoral countries of Indian Ocean. So they undertake cooperation with respect to disaster management, with respect to environmental cooperation, whatever. There might be other areas of cooperation. In fact, open regionalism is said to be a stepping stone towards globalization. And a closed regionalism at times takes us away from globalization. But open regionalism is very much in line with globalization. ठीक है, एक concept है trade creation, trade diversion, if you have heard about it, है ना? Trade creation, trade takes place between the most efficient producer of a good and the consumer of the good, है ना? And trade diversion, when trade takes place not between the most efficient producer and the consumer. ठीक है, तो ट्रेड क्रिएशन में हेल्प करता है ओपन रीजनलिज्म. सो एनीवेज, ओपन रीजनलिज्म एंड सॉफ्ट रीजनलिज्म क्या है? हार्ड स्ट्रक्चरलाइजेशन इज मिसिंग. there might not be strict legally binding treaties and agreements, strict structuralization. ASEAN के context में, I told you yesterday, there were 3 communities which have been created 2015. 3 communities of ASEAN: political community, socio-economic and security community were created. So that refers to strict structuralization. In case of EU, we have these very strict structuralization of EU, several treaties, several agreements. But in case of soft regionalism, that will be missing. It will be based more on understanding, mutual understanding. Yes. So this is soft regionalism, open regionalism, then tripartite in nature. That means there will be involvement of government, business and academia. Yes. So government, business communities as well as academia. Academia matlab academic experts will come together during these meetings and cooperate. And finally, decision making is on consensus. But individual commitments are on voluntary basis. What it means is that it is part of open regionalism. Yes. So for example, they agree that yes, by 2035 they want to reduce the average custom duties of the member countries, say to 5%. Yes. So that has to be based on consensus. But there are countries like Australia who might say, I will achieve this target by 2025. Other countries like India will say by 2030. Some other countries might say, no, we need some more time, till 2040 only we'll be able to achieve. So when we are going to achieve is based on individual commitments, voluntary in nature, but the general decision making is based on consensus. Fine. So this is with respect to nature of IORA. And what is the aim of IORA? Aim is economic cooperation as such, but under India's leadership of IORA, the goal was expanded to 6 priority areas. You should know the 6 priority areas, so please you may write it down. 6 priority areas, namely marine safety and security, trade and investment facilitation, disaster risk management, fisheries management. 5th is academia, science and technology. And last is academia, science and technology. Last is tourism and cultural cooperation. Yes. Also there are 2 cross-cutting themes. Which have been identified. Yes, gender empowerment and blue economy. So whatever action they are going to take, they will focus on, it leads to gender empowerment and sustainable use of maritime resources. Gender empowerment and blue economy, 2 cross-cutting themes. Yes, generally you find that ministerial level meetings takes place. Yes, the first summit was held only in 2017 in Jakarta. Since then, no summit has been held. Yes, foreign minister level pe, ministerial level pe meetings hoti hain inki. Fine. And IORA chairmanship was transferred from Bangladesh to Sri Lanka. India will take up the chairmanship from 2025 till 2027. Then you have this organization known as FIPIC, Forum for India Pacific Island Cooperation. Yes, we have this organization known as FIPIC. Before we discuss FIPIC as such, let us look into this diagram which they have given. Yes, so you have Pacific Island countries. Yes, Pacific Island countries, they are also known as Oceania. They are together known as Oceania, and they comprise around 25,000 islands, and they are located in south and western portion of Pacific Ocean. Yes. At times Australia is also included within the definition of Oceania, but other times it is excluded because it is a continent. It is not just an island nation but a continent. Yes. Fine. So you find that this Oceania, this group of islands are divided into 3 groups known as Micronesia, Melanesia and Polynesia. Broad way to remember them, how they are divided, is we draw this diagram. So this vertical line is the international date line, or represents 180-degree longitude, and this is the 0-degree latitude or the equator. Yes. So you find that those islands which are located to the west of the international date line, north of the equator, are Micronesian islands. Below them, below the equator, is Melanesia, and on the eastern side of the international date line is the group of islands known as Polynesia. This division is based on geography, culture and ethnicity of those living in these islands. ठीक है, geography, culture and ethnicity. Yes. So important Micronesian countries are Guam, Palau, Marina Island, Marshall Islands. Yes. Melanesia, Papua New Guinea, very very important. Solomon, New Caledonia, Fiji, very very important. Yes. And Polynesian, French Polynesia, Cook Island, Kiribati, etc. Fine. Fine. They also, these Pacific Island countries or Oceania countries, have also formed what is known as PIF, Pacific Island Forum. Yes. I had told you in the last class that Papua New Guinea is part of PIF. It was formed in 1971. Its headquarter is in Suva, Fiji. And the member countries, members are 18 countries or 18 islands, and they are guided by framework of Pacific regionalism. In their cooperation. ठीक है. Fine. And in 2014 we institutionalized our relations with Pacific Island nations by forming FIPIC. In 1971, है ना, PIF, Pacific Island Forum, क्या यही है बस, formed in 1971, headquarter, member countries, guided by framework of Pacific regionalism. And India institutionalized our relation with Pacific Island nations in 2014 by forming FIPIC, Forum of India Pacific Island Cooperation. So 2014 PM Modi had visited Fiji, and in this FIPIC you have India plus 14 Pacific Island nations who participate. 2015 was the second summit, which was held in Jaipur, Rajasthan, and 2023 India co-hosted the third summit with Papua New Guinea. Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea, India and Papua New Guinea co-hosted the FIPIC summit. Yes. So India announced 12-point development plan during this summit. Yes, Genesis we have spoken of, the member countries. You can just have a Look, I doubt if they are going to really ask the specific island nations, but still then go through them. And what is so important about Pacific Island countries? These are very small island nations, but they have extraordinary large exclusive economic zones. Such large is their EEZ that at times their area is more than the size of India. Yes, so they have large access to EEZs, which tend to be resource rich in terms of natural minerals, etc. Yes, and recently India is considering expanding the International Solar Alliance's Stark Sea initiative to Pacific Island countries. What is this Stark Sea Solar Technology Application Resource Center initiative? Yes, and it is jointly implemented. This Stark Sea initiative is jointly implemented by International Solar Alliance and UNIDO. Then you have Eastern Economic Forum. Eastern Economic Forum started in 2015. Yes, it is a forum to encourage investment in Russia's Far East. Russia का Far East क्या है? The Siberian region. So 1/3 of Russia, the Asian part of Russia, yes, which is extremely cold but very, very resource rich, has a very less population and underpopulated, resource rich and extremely cold. Yes, so to encourage investment in RFE, to encourage development of RFE. Yes, so India had participated in the 8th Eastern Economic Forum. Yes, and China is the biggest investor in this region. Then there is something known as Partners in Blue Pacific. Partners in Blue Pacific, foreign ministers of the Partners in Blue Pacific initiative was recently held. It is a 5-nation informal mechanism to support Pacific Islands and to boost diplomatic and economic ties in the region. और ये कौन है 5 nation? US, Australia, New Zealand, UK and Japan. Yes, then you have G77. G77, what you need to remember, it is a grouping of developing countries within UN. Yes, so it is a grouping of developing countries within UN. It was formed, it was established in 1964 when 77 developing countries within UN joined to form this group G77. Why did they form a group within UN? Within UN to increase their collective bargaining capacity, negotiating capacity. Yes, to articulate and promote their collective economic interest and enhance their joint negotiating capacity. ठीक है, और आज के दिन इसका membership कितना है? 134 countries. Is China a member of G77? No. China is not a member, but it chooses to actively cooperate with G77. So though called G77, 134 countries are presently its member, and it is the largest intergovernmental grouping of developing countries in the UN. Okay, within the UN they had created group 77. Then you have G24. It is also a group of developing nations which has backed the recommendation of independent expert group on reform of multilateral development bank. Actually its genesis is in 1971. It is a part of, it was formed as a chapter of G77 and formally independent existence हुआ 1972. Basically they coordinate the position of developing countries on monetary and development issues in deliberation and discussion of Bretton Woods. और यहाँ पे इनका सेक्रेटेरिएट इसीलिए कहाँ है? Washington DC in IMF headquarters, and presently it comprises 28 countries. India is part of it plus China. China is not part of it. तो G77 का ही एक offshoot है ना, G24, and it is with particular objective है on to carry forward the interest of developing countries on इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी अफेयर्स एंड डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है. देन यू हैव I2U2. I2U2 membership can be asked in the exam. Membership क्या है? India, Israel, UAE, US, and it is the dividend of Abraham Accords. Had it not been for Abraham Accords, I2U2 would not have come into being. Abraham Accords have been signed between which countries? Abraham Accord as such is mediated by the US. Yes, and it has been signed between Israel, UAE, Bahrain and Morocco. Sudan was to sign this accord, लेकिन it had not signed the accord before it. Israel-Hamas conflict took place. And अभी क्या हुआ? Because of Israel-Hamas conflict, Bahrain has called back its ambassador from Israel. और ये क्या है? ये जो agreement has been signed, मैंने कहा, between Israel, UAE, Bahrain and Morocco. ठीक है. तो basically क्या purpose क्या है इस agreement का? To normalize ties with Israel. So through it, UAE, Bahrain and Morocco have normalized their ties. Normalized their ties मतलब क्या है? Diplomatic relations. They have established with Israel. Yes. In fact, the West Asian countries generally do not recognize Israel because Israel took away the right of statehood of the Palestinians. Yes. So the first Arab nation to normalize ties with Israel was Egypt through Camp David Accord. Second country was Jordan, and the third Arab nation was UAE. Fourth was Bahrain, fifth was Morocco. UAE is in fact the first Gulf country to normalize ties with Israel. Okay? And all this, because of the Abraham Accords, it resulted into formation of I2U2. October 2021, you find that the foreign ministers of the four countries met, and it was in July 2022 that the first summit was held. Yes, first summit was held. Fine, and they look upon themselves as a geo-economic entity. Of course, there is a geopolitical motive of balancing China, but they seek to see themselves as a geo-economic grouping. Then you have AUKUS. AUKUS is Australia, UK, US. Yes, when was it formed? September 2021. Yes. And as part of AUKUS, they are sharing, they have signed an agreement to share the nuclear powered submarine technology. Yes, nuclear powered, not nuclear attack, but nuclear powered submarine technology with Australia. So US and UK, UK basically would co-develop nuclear powered submarine with Australia, sharing technology with Australia. US will also share technology. Yes, or maybe recently it was in news because they have signed an agreement to jointly operate deep space advanced radar capability. Yes, which will enhance their space, जैसे marine domain awareness होता है वैसे ही space domain awareness. Fine. Then you have IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. Yes, what is International Atomic Energy Agency? It is the central intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in nuclear field. It acts as a watchdog of NPT, nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Yes, India has been a founding member of IAEA since 1957 when it was established. Headquarter is in Vienna, Austria, to verify nuclear material used solely for peaceful purpose. And as part of NPT, क्या करते हैं ये? They sign agreements with the signatories of NPT who are non-nuclear weapon states, whereby they will agree to comprehensive safeguard mechanism. IAEA inspectors can go and inspect the nuclear facilities to make sure that the nuclear technology shared by the NWS is not misused for militarization or weapon making. India and IAEA, we have signed specific safeguard agreement. हमने comprehensive नहीं sign किया है क्योंकि हम nuclear weapon state हैं, तो हमने specific agreement sign किया है, agreement for application of safeguards to civilian nuclear facilities. ठीक है, जो हमारा न्यूक्लियर वेपन मेकिंग फैसिलिटी है वहाँ पे IAEA does not get access to. It is only vis-a-vis civilian nuclear facilities. We signed this agreement in 2009 when we got a special waiver from NSG in 2008. Yes, fine. You can maybe look into little detail ki exactly UPSC previously has asked a question on it. Which are the nuclear facilities? है ना, कौन से ऐसे nuclear facilities है जहाँ पे IAEA has inspection right? So are those nuclear facilities where we import the nuclear material from foreign countries? Now what is the exact nature of these nuclear facilities? Just read on it or look into the previous year question. Yes. I hope you understand. With non-nuclear weapon state comprehensive sign करेंगे, लेकिन India is the only nuclear weapon state to have such agreement, and we have specific only vis-a-vis civilian nuclear facilities. Then you have IOM, International Organization for Migration. इसका purpose क्या होगा? To facilitate orderly migration. Yes, safe orderly migration. So IOM was established in 1951. It is a leading intergovernmental organization in the field of migration. It is part of the UN system. ठीक है, वो related organization करके भी category है, उसमें आता है IOM. Yes, it has 175 members and to ensure orderly and humane management of migration to promote international cooperation. Yes, and अभी क्यों news में था? प्रयास, Ministry of External Affairs in collaboration with IOM has launched something known as Prayas. Prayas stands for Promoting Regular Assisted Migration of Youth and Skilled Professionals. Yes. Launched in collaboration with Ministry of External Affairs, Niti Aayog and state governments will also be involved. Next organization is OPEC. OPEC stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Recently it was in news because Angola has withdrawn its membership. इसके वजह से the membership of OPEC has come down to 12 countries. Yes, its headquarter is in Vienna, Austria. Be careful, though Austria is not a member of OPEC, the headquarter is in Vienna, Austria. Yes, it is an permanent intergovernmental organization. इसका aim क्या है? Aim is to secure fair and stable prices for petroleum producers. Regular supply of petroleum to petroleum consuming countries and fair return to investors. जो भी investors हैं who are investing in petroleum production. And the website of OPEC says the aim of OPEC is to ensure stable prices for petroleum producers, regular supply, reliable supply for petroleum consuming nations, and also fair return to those who choose to invest in petroleum production. Yes, so this is the aim. Otherwise they choose to coordinate and unify the petroleum policies amongst themselves. ये actually क्या करते हैं? If there is drop in the demand of petroleum products, they decide amongst themselves to reduce the supply of petroleum products. Yes, they operate like a cartel. इनका criticism यही है, they operate like a cartel, whereby they determine oil prices. And they do not allow oil prices to be determined by the market forces of demand and supply. तो अगर demand गिर जाएगी तो oil prices गिर जाएंगे, तो ये क्या करते हैं? Artificially production ही कम कर देते हैं. Yes, demand and supply. So therefore they are criticized to be operating like a cartel. Yes, and also they impose what is known as Asian premium. That means for the same quality of oil, they charge Asian countries more than they would charge, say, the European countries. So India and China are vociferously against what is known as the Asian premium. Okay? So this is these are two other points. Otherwise there are 12 members. Please try and remember these member countries, have at least have a brief idea. You can categorize them across continents and remember it. Yes, you have Venezuela also, you can remember, is a member of OPEC. In fact, it was the founding member of OPEC. So you have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Algeria, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Libya, Nigeria, Republic of Congo and Venezuela. And this is important, it uses Brent crude as the benchmark for quality. And OPEC in 2016 expanded, they entered into cooperation with 10 other countries, 10 other oil exporting countries which were not part of OPEC, to form OPEC Plus. So OPEC Plus का membership क्या है? 22 oil producing countries. So all OPEC members plus 10 other oil producing countries: Russia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, South Sudan and Sudan. In fact, in context of Russia-Ukraine war, when US had asked the OPEC countries to increase their oil production and to manage the shortfall of Russian oil in the market, OPEC did not agree, क्योंकि OPEC plus का इनका cooperation है. दीदी जमा why he is asking why there is Asian premium charged. Why Asian premium is charged? There are multiple reasons for Asian premium being charged. एक reason है कि you have a lot of demand, है ना? You have countries like India and China which are net exporters of energy, so much so that 80% of their energy demands, oil requirement is met through imports. There is also colonial history to do with it, है ना? Also these countries, अच्छा, Asian countries are very much dependent on these OPEC countries or West Asian countries. We do not have alternative markets, yeah, alternative suppliers. Europe, for example, has alternative supplier in the form of Russia. It used to have. So हमारा bargaining capacity बहुत कम है, plus we have large demand. So as a consequence, historically they have been charging Asian premium. On the other hand, you had 1945 के around ही Saudi Arabia and US had entered into an agreement vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia agreeing to meet energy security of US. तो इस तरह से उनके खुद के कुछ इस तरह से agreements रहे जिसके वजह से you find that they do not charge them much. But since we are very much dependent on them and do not have alternative suppliers, so they charge Asian premium from these countries. And India and China for quite a few years now we are protesting against the Asian premium. Fine. Then you have International Transport Forum. ठीक है, It is a think tank for transport policy, organizes annual summit of transport ministers. It is the only global body that covers all transport modes. It is politically autonomous and administratively integrated with OECD. OECD भी एक बार member countries क्या हैं? Do a Google search. है ना, न्यूज़ में नहीं था, but OECD you should know. Then you have international organization for legal metrology. ये आप खुद पढ़ लेना. Paris Club क्या है? Paris Club is a group of informal group of countries, है ना, ये loan देने वाली countries हैं. Yes, so you find that informal group of mostly Western creditors. All 12 are members of OECD, and the objective is to find sustainable debt relief solution for countries that are unable to repay their bilateral loan. Why the Paris group was in news in context, या Paris Club in context of Sri Lanka. ठीक है, Sri Lanka, for Sri Lanka to access the $2.9 billion है ना, जो IMF is providing it as a loan, they need to restructure their pre-existing loans. Yes, and in that restructuring, Paris Club is playing a very, very important role. They have signed agreements with Sri Lanka that they would restructure their loan. Yes, India acts as an ad hoc participant. India and China are not its members, but we at times try and harmonize and try and act in coordination with Paris Club. Then tax inspectors without borders. ठीक है, तो this is also a joint initiative of OECD and UNDP. It facilitates transfer of tax audit knowledge and skills to developing country tax administration using learning by doing approach. ये पढ़ लेना, ये इस तरह के questions है ना, डॉक्टर्स विदाउट बॉर्डर्स एंड इस तरह के क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी ने एक दो बार पूछ रखे हैं. फाइन, सो यू जस्ट रीड थ्रू इट. Fine, now we'll be starting with places in news, and we are starting with India and its neighborhood. So the first country that we are looking at is in fact Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has been in news, and these points which they have shown on the map are all very, very important. Yes, so you find that there is Point Pedro, there is Kankesanthurai. Yes, Trincomalee. India had wanted to build oil farms in Trincomalee. You have Colombo, Gale, Hambantota Port. Yes, Oluville. All are important. Colombo Port is also developed by China, and they are also planning to develop a large logistics complex there. Yes, in fact, let's just look into this first. Kachhathivu, as I told you, it has been in news over the year repeatedly, twice or thrice it has been in news. Kachhathivu islet is a disputed territory. As such, government of India does not believe it to be disputed, but the state of Tamil Nadu is unhappy with respect to the border settlement that government of India did with Sri Lanka over Kachhathivu. Government of Tamil Nadu believes Kachhathivu to be part of India. Why they believe it to be part of India? Because it was part of the zamindari rights of Raja of Ramnad. ठीक है, ये क्या था? It was part of zamindari rights. It was part of zamindari rights of Raja of Ramnad, which eventually, when once princely states were integrated, zamindari was abolished. Yes, this was eventually integrated into province of Madras. province of Madras. Yes, but government of India says that this was a disputed territory, and as part of the border settlement agreement, maritime boundary agreement of 1974 and 1975, India has 76 hai? 74, there are two agreements actually. One is 74, the other is I think so 76. Yes, we have recognized Kachativu to be part of Sri Lanka. In fact, 1974 maritime boundary agreement ke through ही we recognized Kachativu island to be part of Sri Lanka. Yes, and later on the next agreement that we signed, in that agreement we gave away our traditional fishing rights in and around Kachativu to Sri Lanka. We surrendered the fishing rights as well. Sri Lankan government says, government of India in pursuit of good relations with Sri Lanka gave away this territory which was of India to Sri Lanka. But government of India says, we never gave away any territory which belonged to India to Sri Lanka. This was disputed territory from the very beginning. है ना, जैसे हमने exchange of enclaves, when we decided to give away our territory to Bangladesh, constitutional amendment was necessary. So they say that this agreement is invalid because we have given away our territory without any constitutional amendment. But government of India says that it was never our territory, it was a disputed territory and the border was settled. ठीक है, Kachativu का location is important. Yes, its location is, they have just mentioned the location. It is an uninhabited, very small island. तो इसीलिए कहा गया speck between India and Sri Lanka in the Pak Strait. It lies northeast of Rameshwaram, southwest, यहाँ पे Jaffna है ना? So southwest of Jaffna. It is important to the fisher folks of both the countries. Yes. Sorry. Fine. Yes, recently with respect to Bhutan, Doklam plateau has been in news. Otherwise also Doklam, remember it is part of Bhutan. Yes, and border settlement, अभी यही हो रहा है, दो portion, there are two disputed pockets in the northern portion of Bhutan, and there are actually 4 disputed pockets in the western border between Bhutan and China, and they want to settle the border. India is particularly concerned about Doklam's settlement. Yes, if it is settled in favor of China, it will widen the Chungi Valley axis of China. This is the Chungi Valley, which is a narrow wedge. Yes, and it is very close to the Siliguri corridor. Yes, the Chicken's Neck corridor. Siliguri corridor क्यों important है? It is the only land route which connects northeast India to rest of India. So if this Chungi Valley is widened for China, China can easily militarily deploy its soldiers in the Chungi Valley, which will increase India's security dilemma or insecurity vis-a-vis China and Siliguri corridor. ठीक है, तो Doklam was in news in this context. This is once again the map of Sri Lanka. You can look, Jaffna is here, Gulf of Mannar, Pak Strait, Pak Bay. इसको अच्छे से मार्क में मैप में you should know their location. Pak Strait, Pak Bay, Gulf of Mannar. Fine. And when it comes to Sri Lanka, it is है ना, वहाँ पे कैसा form of government क्या है? Executive, presidency and unitary form of government. They are not a federal country like India. And in the northern and in the eastern province, Tamils are in majority. Yes, and you find central province में Indian Tamils are present in the tea plantations. Yes, so this is then you have Mannar, Gulf of Mannar. Mannar में Adani Group has one wind power project, and they have few projects here, Hambantota Port and all this. Have a look on the map. Yes, Kachativu Island, I have mentioned the history here. You can have a look there. Yes, you can read through it. Another, Siang River has been in news. Siang River is, yes, the Yarlung Sangpo, है ना, जो Brahmaputra river in Tibet, it originates in Tibet. Brahmaputra river is known as Yarlung Sangpo or Yarlung Zangbo भी बोलते हैं. Yes, Yarlung Sangpo in Tibet. It flows through Tibet and then it takes a sharp hairpin bend. You can see the bend before it enters Arunachal Pradesh. It enters Arunachal Pradesh as the Siang river, and this river is joined by two tributaries, namely Lohit and Dibang, plus जो Siang river है, which is actually the Yarlung Sangpo continuing into India, they together from the Brahmaputra river. Yes, now what is the concern? China has announced that China will be developing a large dam, yes, on the Medong county. In Medong county. Medong county is where this river takes the sharp bend. So as the river falls about 2000 meter, है ना, 2000 meters से the river falls in this region. And because of this sudden fall in the river's height, there is a lot of potential and kinetic energy generated. And they want to harness this energy to produce hydropower. So they are planning to build a 60 gigawatt dam in Medong county. Yes, and such large dam can have massive impact on the flow of Brahmaputra river into India. India also fears that since this dam is going to be very close to Arunachal Pradesh, China can utilize this dam as an instrument of war against India. So in times of war, they might release water, they might hold back water, causing droughts. So as to check such adversarial actions by China, India has said that India will build a 10 gigawatt dam on the Siang river. Yes, and therefore the Siang river has been in news. Fine. Then British Indian Ocean Territory. British Indian Ocean Territory क्या है? It is nothing but the Chagos Archipelago. Chagos Archipelago was part once upon a time of Mauritius. It was part of Mauritius, which was ruled by Britishers. So before Mauritius was given independence in 1968, Britishers divided Mauritius in 1965 to create Chagos Archipelago. Yes, and this Mauritius was given independence in 1968, but Chagos Archipelago continues to be under British rule. And of this archipelago, one of the major island is Diego Garcia, on which is the naval base of US. In fact, ICJ, International Court of Justice of UN, in its advisory opinion, had asked UK to reunite Chagos archipelago with Mauritius and give it independence. But Britain said that Chagos archipelago is important for the security in this region and decided not to reunite it with Mauritius and give it independence. Fine. So this Chagos archipelago as such comprises the Three Brother Island, Eagle Island, Danger Island, है ना? It constitutes a semicircular group. You can read through it. ठीक है? ये सारे important है. क्यों important है? Because वही कल हमने बताया था, ये सारे इस तरह से पूछते हैं ये एग्जाम में. So it would be important. Next is Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia, basically we are looking into the Indo-China Peninsula. Indo-China Peninsula comprises which countries? Thailand, Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam. ये 4 countries हैं जो Indo-China Peninsula का हिस्सा हैं. Yes, apart from it we will be looking into South China Sea. So you can read through it. Here what I find important is that Cambodia is home to Angkor Wat. Yes, which is the largest religious monument in the world. You should please know their relative location. पता होना चाहिए कहाँ कैसे है ये, है ना? Out of the Indo-China Peninsula, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, which country is landlocked? Laos. Yes, so you should know their relative location as such. Fine. Then you also have Laos. Read through it. एक बार पढ़ लेना इनको. Vietnam, a very very important country, है ना? It is part of IPEF. It is part of APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Organization. Yes. South China Sea में भी इनका dispute है. It is a littoral country of South China Sea as well. Now you have the South China Sea, which has been in news, है ना? Repeatedly in news because of the growing tension between China and Philippines. In Philippines you have new leadership, है ना? पिछले 1-2 साल में उनके new leadership है, and they have been, and this president has been more assertive about Philippines rights in South China Sea. He has gone for closer security cooperation with US as well. Now when it comes to South China Sea, which are the littoral countries? Littoral countries क्या? China है. Then you have Vietnam, you have Malaysia, you have Indonesia, you have Brunei, yes, and you have Philippines. Yes, so Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Vietnam, China are the littoral countries. At times Taiwan को भी include कर लेते हैं in the littoral countries of South China Sea. Yes, and what is this dispute? This dispute is China illegally claiming 90% of South China Sea based on 9-dash line. Yes, and China's this claim is disputed by the other littoral countries who also claim respective areas into South China Sea as their EEZs. They have competitive claims, yeah, competing claims with China of EEZs into South China Sea. Now as far as Scarborough Shoal is concerned, it is disputed between Philippines and China. Otherwise there are 2 islands, one is Parcel and the other is Spratly. There are 2 islands, Parcel and Spratly, on which China lays historical claims. एक है Parcel Islands and the other is Spratly, on which China lays historical claims, and based on its historical claims on these 2 islands, it claims 90% of South China Sea. But South China Sea is very very important for global trade. Majority of the global trade passes through South China Sea. 50% of India's trade with Indo-Pacific also passes through South China Sea. It is also very, very resource rich in fisheries reserve. Fine. So because of it, it is a matter of concern. China at one point used to draw 11 dash line, but now they have given away their demand over Gulf of Tonkin. यहाँ पे there is this is Gulf of Tonkin, or just look into the map. I think so. This is the Gulf of Tonkin. Yes, and they have given away their claim on Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah. Here, Gulf of Tonkin. Here is Gulf of Tonkin. Yes, in 1952 they gave away their demand on Gulf of Tonkin, and through it 11 dash line was reduced to 9 dash line. Fine. Fine. So this is about South China Sea. Once again, I have just given this map. You can have a look. Here are Spratly Island and Parcel Islands. Yes. So historical claim is laid by China on it and through it. And यहाँ पे है ये. This is the Gulf of Tonkin, Gulf of Thailand. ये सब आपको पता होना चाहिए. Yes. You will look into Hong Kong, Taiwan Strait. Yes, all this is important. Okinawa, which is part of Japan. Please look into these maps thoroughly. ठीक है, Japan का political map with respect to its various island, ठीक है, is also going to be important. Yes, with respect to Taiwan, I thought you should also be aware of, since Taiwan has been in news, so you should also be aware of एक तो neighboring countries of China देख लेना. Yes, China is surrounded by 14 to 15 countries, है ना, with most they have settled their borders except India. They have not settled their land borders with India. So have a look there, and you should be aware with when it comes to the Taiwan issue, one China principle, one China policy, and one China two system formula or approach. Now what is one China principle? One China principle states that there is only one China in the world. Yes, there are no two Chinas, just one China in the world, and that one China ka true representative is PRC. Yes, both Taiwan and mainland China are part of inalienable single China, and PRC is the true representative of that China. Then there is one China policy. It means a country can have diplomatic relations either with PRC or with Taiwan. They cannot have relations with both Taiwan and PRC. और इसका result क्या हुआ है? Taiwan has been pushed into diplomatic wilderness. Most countries of the world do not have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Why? Because PRC is such a huge country. It is a P5 member. So we cannot not recognize China. China is the global manufacturing power. Yes. So you find that this has happened. And in fact, since 1979, US abandoned its diplomatic relations with Taiwan to establish diplomatic relations with PRC. And it was in 1979 that ultimately PRC was given its seat in UNSC. उससे पहले तक Taiwan was occupying that seat. Yes. One China, two system formula. What is this one China, two system formula? Under it, Beijing grants semi-autonomous status to erstwhile colonized territories. So basically, this formula was a brainchild of Deng Xiaoping, and he gave this formula in context of unification of Taiwan with China, mainland China. So he had suggested that if Taiwan is willing to recognize that yes, there is only one China in the world and the true representative of that China is the government of PRC, then in that case they will allow a different political and economic system to exist in Taiwan. They will not ask Taiwan to politically and economically integrate itself with rest of China. But at that point of time, Taiwan rejected this one China, two system formula or approach. Later on, this formula was revived when Hong Kong and Macau were gaining independence from British and Portuguese. Yes, and consequently, presently, Hong Kong and Macau are integrated with China under one China, two system formula. And the basis of it is this basic law. एक separate constitution है for Hong Kong and Macau. But this basic law will expire in 2049 for Macau and 2047 for Hong Kong. And we do not know what will be their future nature of integration with China. Yes, presently also you find that China strengthening its stronghold over Hong Kong and Macau, example, the security legislation. Yes, so that is the idea. Now what is China's official white paper on Taiwan? They say that they will not hesitate to use force against Taiwan to secure integration of Taiwan with China. They are not eager, they do not want to, but if pushed, if forced, they will use force. And this force will not be against the Taiwanese people, but against this idea of freedom of Taiwan and against foreign interference in Taiwan. Okay, so that is what they say. It would be the action of last resort under compelling action, but they are not obligated not to use force. And US foreign policy kya hai? It is the policy of strategic ambiguity, whereby they say that if they might come out in support of Taiwan, they might not come out in support of Taiwan. Only time will tell what they will do. So basically they will look into the circumstance. If they feel that they stand a chance of stopping China, only then they will come out in support of Taiwan, otherwise no. Okay, so they have a policy of strategic ambiguity. Fine, so this is with respect to US foreign policies with respect to Taiwan. और ताइवान का खुद का स्टैंड क्या है? दे प्रेफर स्टेटस क्वो. वो इंडिपेंडेंस भी खुल के नहीं मांगते और ना इंटीग्रेशन. बिकॉज अगर इंडिपेंडेंस मांगा तो या if they say they want to continue to be independent, then in that case China's red line would be crossed and China can take it as a means to attack Taiwan, excuse to attack Taiwan. So they prefer status quo. एक concept है 1992 consensus. Yes, 1992 consensus was reached between ये Kuomintang एक major political party है and China के बीच में, whereby they had agreed on existence of one China. However, once China equated this idea of one China to one China two system policy, both KMT rejected this idea. But China insists कि the 1992 consensus will be the basis of cross-strait negotiation. Fine, so this is with respect to China. The PPTs will be uploaded, you can go through it. You should be aware vis-a-vis it. Yes? Yeah.
मैम वन चाइना टू सिस्टम में फॉरेन पॉलिसी ताइवान की चाइना कंट्रोल करेगा या ताइवान?
क्या?
वन चाइना टू सिस्टम में जैसे पॉलिटिकल और इकोनॉमिक ऑटोनॉमी रहेगी ताइवान के पास, तो फॉरेन पॉलिसी चाइना के पास?
फॉरेन पॉलिसी चाइना के पास रहेगी, है ना. पॉलिटिकल एंड इकोनॉमिक ऑटोनॉमी मतलब वही है कि कैपिटलिस्ट सिस्टम फॉलो कर सकते हैं. ताइवान एज अ कैपिटलिस्ट कंट्री एंड पॉलिटिकल डेमोक्रेसी, है ना, लिबरल पॉलिटिकल डेमोक्रेसी है और वो कैपिटलिस्ट कंट्री की तरह ऑपरेट करती है. दैट दे विल बी एबल टू डू, बट येस दे वुड बी गाइडेड इन देयर फॉरेन पॉलिसी. with by China as such.
Okay.
Fine? Fine then. I think so that is it for today. We'll continue our discussion on these places in news and the next topic, bilateral relations, in tomorrow's class. Fine? Thank you.